It is a song of honor for our ancestors, for the sacrifices that they made so that we could come to Canada and have a better life.
The Doukhobors immigrated to Canada in 1899, and 300 of the 7,600 Doukhobors settled here at this yard.
They didn't want to bow to the icons in the Orthodox Church. So they decided that they should bow to one another, to the spirit within. And then they got into trouble because they weren't conforming to the traditional Orthodox beliefs. So then they went even further and they used some of their hymns and their prayers and they sang them a cappella, but they drew them out so nobody could really understand what they were singing. And then when they burned their weapons in 1895, then they really got into trouble.
And so several thousand Doukhobors in 3 communities, the Doukhobors gathered their guns, any military equipment that they had, and burnt them in a big bonfire, in 3 big bonfires.
The military came on horseback, then they hauled them. Some of them were punished and went to jail, some of them were taken back to their villages, and then they started a whole chain of being in a bad position.
And this action was so reprehensible that news of it circulated.
And so they made a decision that if they could gather enough finance, they could bring those who wanted to come over. So then in 1899, Leo Tolstoy donated his funds from the resurrection.
And then Quakers and Mennonites to write to the Russian Tsar saying, let these people go. And so finally, in 1899, our people, with the help of Tolstoy and these other good people, to sail on 3 cattle ships to Canada. At that time, this was the largest immigration to this country.
For me, this has a very special place for me, because it's 125 years since our ancestors came to Canada. How did they feel? They were stepping onto a cattle ship with just a bag of whatever they had, leaving their homes and their friends, and if their family didn't come with them, they were leaving, right? And I'm just like, and what I really have to tell you guys is that it was hilarious, because they didn't think there was stones and rocks in Canada. So they brought rocks to make their sauerkraut with, to smash the cabbage. And then when they got to the harbor and they seen the rocks, they started throwing them overboard. So yeah, I don't know. I've always had a special place in my heart for history.
My great-great-grandfather was 11 years old that came at that time in 1899, and he stayed here for 5 years while they were building the village across the road. That is my connection to the Doukhobor Dugout house, and the Doukhobor community is as a descendant of the heritage. The archaeological dig was done in 2005, and that was to clarify and do the research to see if this is exactly where they stayed and where they lived. And that is where it turned into tourism and designation, and it became a provincial designation in 2005 and a national designation in 2008. So when the visitor comes, they are given a directional map that will take them to 10 areas of historical significance. There is overnight experience now where you can actually experience what it's like to stay the night. They have a choice to stay at the Vergen pod or the Tolstoy, and each one of those are themed around those 2 guys. And if they stay at the Vergen, for instance, we are going to be doing everything to do with Vergen and the history and what happened to him, and that whole assassination that the Doukhobor people believe, that's unsolved murder. That whole story time is based around that theme, that pod. If they stay at the Tolstoy location, it'll be themed around Tolstoy and the history of what Tolstoy did for the Doukhobors by selling his book, Resurrection, that netted 80,000 rubles. So even that book is inside the pod. So you'll be visited by Tolstoy dressed up in, costume, and explaining the history of that. So they get the experience of the history, They get the cultural food experience.
I'm a participator in the bread baking, and this was the original way they started baking bread in ovens such as this. And they rescued this oven from the fields here. They're not the easiest thing to bake bread with, but we do manage to bake bread. But it's fun, we're having fun with it. As the rest of the people come along, they want to see how it was done originally. There's no thermostat, there's no electric equipment that you can turn on and off for the heat. You can't set the heat. It's by guess and by experience, that's all it is. And it works good. It's just a little learning episode, that's all. A lot of people think it's a wonderful bread. It's a bread they have never tasted before. It's a softer type of a bread, not a condensed bread. Most people really enjoyed it. They never tasted anything like it. It's different than the electric or gas-operated heat.
The plow is something that we do every Saturday with the visitors. So I will do that with one of the elders. And that's something we wanted people to know what it was like. You know, back then they didn't have any animals, so they had to use 12 women to pull that plow. And so we like to have the visitor have that experience. So it takes a community of people. And with the reenactment, it's the elders that help with that. It's the elders that help with the cultural food. They're the ones that are doing the borscht, and they're the ones that are doing the tarts. So Harv is making bread. Like, it's all the elders that help out with all of that. So it takes a community to make it happen.
We have to talk as a whole, as a community, because we can't do everything by ourselves. It just touches my heart. I have never ever come here and not went home inspired and filled and with joy and with happiness and just remembering where I came from.
We had a rain that came through. It was beautiful for our reenactment, which is nice. And then the rain came through, and you can still enjoy some Doukhobor bread. You can go inside the museum and still have cultural food, even though it's raining. We're out here, rain or shine, we're out here.
Do we keep going here?
When we come together and we gather and we sing, it just clutches us together. Because my Bible used to always say, just remember, singing, music, it helps wash the dirt of your being away from you and cleans your soul. So I'm like, you're right.
If you have program ideas you'd like to see on maxTV Local, let us know at SaskTel.com/local.